Hi and welcome to today's video. It's going to be a line and wash rose illustration. As you can see, I have a very large one. It's a variation. You could always vary that printable that I have in the description link for you. Hopefully you've had time to grab that. Check your printer's capabilities. If you're lucky enough to have waterproofing and you could print on watercolor paper, you're good to go. If not, use it as a transfer. Once you've transferred it onto your, which I recommend is hot press watercolor paper, because you'll be using a fine line marker and or any kind of marker of your choice for the outline. It works better on a smooth surface, and a hot press paper is a smooth surface. Anyways, this is a larger section that I put together. Beautiful composition. Even added a little bee here. Here is a color palette. Has orangey pinks, yellowy pinks, greens. That's one variation, a large section for your composition, or you could break it down to many different sizes. This is the printable. That's what we'll be working on today. You could choose any color of your choice. Roses come in such beautiful varieties and colors, and they smell just delightful and sweet. Here's one I did in a beautiful purple combination. Worked up that color palette. If you have any questions, let me know, and thank you so much for coming back. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. And let me know you've subscribed in the comments. I'd love to say hello and thanks. And I think you're going to have fun with this. Free printable, can't go wrong. Here's another variation in the pinks. Just sweet and simple, a bud and a barely opening bud starting to blossom. You may choose that. Choice is yours. Once you get that printable, either do it at this size or break it into whatever size you like. Try to make this a fun and easy tutorial. Work at your own pace, choose your colors, and have a lot of fun. In this one I chose an antique white and just chose the largest blossom. So as you can see, you got a lot of choices. But which one will you choose? All right, let's get started. Hopefully you've chosen your paints. You just need some simple round brushes. You're going to do the wet on wet technique after you got your outline done. And then you're going to splash in whatever colors you like. As you can see, it's a nice loose style as I like to work with. What I'm going to choose is the orangey, yellowy pinks. That's what I'm going to do for this one. I'll have a visual on the left hand side for you to refer to if that's what you want to go ahead and do. And I think you're going to enjoy it because it's just a very bright and summery rose. Lots of variations with the buds, barely opening buds, fully opening. Very beautiful. It'll make a perfect gift, and if you happen to be a June baby, this is your birth month flower. The month is almost over, but happy birthday to all the June babies. Okay, we're going to go over what we're going to do. I got my color palette worked here that I discussed earlier. 8x10 hot press on Arches hot press. You can use your hot press of choice. I recommend the one I've used before was from Hobby Lobby. It's great. It's a 30% cotton. This is 100% cotton. It's a little more of a luxurious brand. You could try that out. If you have any questions about the supplies I'm using today, drop me a little comment. Be happy to answer. All right, I have my table set. I'm going to use the Mungyo. I have used those before. Mungyo pan set. Applesauce cups. Water bottle for spritzing. I have some different waterproof inks over here, well, in the form of ink markers. That's the ink you're going to want to use because you don't want it to run. That's going to be your outline. And of course, the assortment of brushes. Paper towels for blotting and drying off your brushes. And let's get started with our lightest wash. I'm going to go ahead and grab, this is from the Fine Touch. To number 16. Actually, I need to get it wet first, so let's start that over. Sometimes I even forget. So we're just going to tap it off. You don't want it dripping. slightly. Then come over here. We'll start with the largest. Just gonna kind of like get this all, just gonna give it a light wash of the color first. Just have this clipped to my clipboard. As you can see, that's waterproof ink. It's not running at all, which is great. Now, let's get into the little bit of that yellow. There we go. Although that's the part where I want to keep the lightest, so that's that overlying lip where it's going to catch the light. So I'm going to blot that out. Yeah, see? Blot it out. Perfect. Although it will have a little color, but very faint. Excuse me. Just enjoy the painting process. If I'm not talking, sometimes I get into a concentration. Let me know how things are going with you. How's your summer so far? What kind of projects you might be working on? I'd love to hear from you. Might as well get some of these stems. And it's okay if you go out a little bit. It's a loose wash of colors. See if you go out like this. Maybe add a bit of this. Let's see, a little bit of, yeah, that looks pretty. It's a little bit of that pink permanent rose. Keep that white line in here. Excuse me. Kind of pushes out your front a little bit there. You add that little rouging up against, pushes out those flowers in the foreground just a bit. Makes it a little more dramatic. Push this over. Okay. All right. Hope you're all having a good day. Today's nice here in Central California. About 65, almost 70 degrees. It's been a bit foggy and cool in the morning. Starts warming up about 1:30. Nice for bike rides. It's been a little breezy lately as well. How's the weather where you guys are living? I know some places is really hot, so I'm very fortunate we don't get too terribly hot here. Pretty decent weather year round. Yeah, I guess I'm working that background just a bit since I started it. It's fine. Don't want to get too crazy. See, that's just a little wet and wet. Okay. I'm referring to the same visual that I popped up on the left-hand side. I won't be adding the bee, but that's really cute. If you want to do that, go ahead. Dragonfly, butterfly, just leave it as is. Just roses. Nice and simple. Okay. Now I'm going to mix in a little bit of yellow, tiny bit of orange. As you can see, I'm just mixing that into my yellow. Today, I guess I'm showing you the mixing. I don't think I've added that into my video, so that might be helpful. Nice and loose and juicy right here. This is an enamel on the inside of this metal. It's great for mixing. Let's add it into this bowl. I call that a bowl. So just tap that in. Maybe a little bit here. Build your colors gradually. Remember, lightest to darkest. Might start adding a little bit of this permanent rose color here, which we're going to working, keeping in coordination with this color palette. I know that's an extensive one. We may not be using all the colors, but this is a nice guide. Starting to flare and do the little bleeds. That's what you want. That's the purpose of the wet and wet. Tackling this larger flower because it takes a little bit more time. Then we'll work into the buds and the leaves. Bring that color down. soft and loose and light. Don't overthink it. Let's have a good time. That's what it's all about. On your leisure time, find something creative to do. Okay, I'm going to deepen this color here because that's where that little bit of the folding over, so you have some shadowing in here. A little bit of shadowing in here. Kind of bring that down over here. You can dry off your brush and pick up just a little bit of that. Just wiping it off here like so on the paper toweling. You can always come back and add more later. Just lightly brushing in a little more water here because it's probably dried. A little more of this yellow. Bright, fresh color. And the golden yellows, kind of keep that in mind. Bright, fresh color. Refer to the visual. It's coming along beautifully. You could even add this in your stem. It's fine because these stems do pick up a little of the yellows and the pinks and even a little bit in the leaves. Just lightly brush that in there, just lightly. Hope you're enjoying this video. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you guys. This is a social place, so let's get social. All right. Always love it when somebody pops in and says, hey, I'd like to hear from you. Add a little bit of this green now. Just kind of working quickly. If I have that green, it's going to go here as well. A little bit. That's a first wash of light green. We can deepen little shadows later. Also, this one's coming in from, shooting in from the left up. So we're going this way. Just a little bit in the center. Okay, there we go. Adding some more color since it's damp in here. Let that kind of go do its job. Beautiful watercolor. This is nice paper. It's working very nicely. Let's add this a little bit all over now. So we're working into this pinky color. Pick up a little bit from here. Even add that a little bit around. Move that over. And this is a time where I start getting a little pizzazz, and I'm going to mix up in the water, and you could do it too. Maybe add a little bit of this yellow on this brush and just do some little splats. That adds a little pizzazz and a little extra fun to this composition. Really wakes it up. It's like a party. Confetti, yay! Okay. Maybe a little bit of yellow. Go over here. Don't want to get too carried away, but I don't want to forget to do that because it looks really fun. Okay. Continue. Maybe start adding something light to this bud. I'm going to let this dry a little bit because it'll get muddy if we keep working it too much, and we'll re-wet it. So here's a bud with your lightest color. Maybe add a little bit of yellow coming up. Yeah, because it's going to stay light on this little edge where it's folding over. Okay, and that, since that's yellow, that'll look pretty on the leaves and the stem that's going there. Maybe add a little bit here. Just where you think it might need a little pop of color, go ahead. Okay. Oh, it's wet especially. Now we're going to flare this in. Tap that color in. Don't go overboard because you want to save the lights. Always remember, save your lights. That's your highlight. You gradually build. Okay, it's looking very pretty. Okay, I'm working my way around, starting a little bit on this side now. I've wetted it down like I showed you, so I think you probably got the hang of that by now. All right, working on the buds here. Dropped in a little more, let's drop in a little more color. Just to the bottom bowl. I call this like a elongated teardrop. Then it's a bit of a, opens into a bowl. That's what the shape of these flowers are. Start off as teardrops, and then they blossom open, unfolding all their petals. Keep this one just a little bit light right there. This paper tends to have it reminds me of a little bit velvety when you're painting on it. You have the right adequate moisture levels going on with your paints and your water. That's what it reminds me of. Maybe you get that feeling too. Let me know. Also, I'd love to hear some other papers that you might be using. What's your favorite? So far, my favorite is the Arches, cold and hot press, and I've used the ones from Hobby Lobby, the Master's Touch brand. I happen to like those so far. Okay, as you can see, it's still light, which is fine. You want to just keep gradually building. I'll probably go into a time lapse next. So enjoy the video and watch the process. See you when it's all finished. Keep in mind your colors.